Right, 6:28 now. The head of one of the world's biggest car makers says a mandatory quota for selling electric vehicles is a terrible thing for the UK, which could destroy the country's car manufacturing industry. The mandate, which came into force this year, means at least 22% of all new cars sold in the UK must be zero emissions, and that rises to 100% in just a few years' time. Carlos Tavares is chief executive of Stellantis, which owns brands including Vauxhall, Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat and Chrysler, and he's told The Times, "I want to be better than the Chinese and I'm working for that, but if you break my legs and don't let me work towards that, I can't help that." Well, let's speak to Ian Plummer, Commercial Director of Autotrader, who's at the Beijing Motor Show. Ian, good morning.
Good morning or good afternoon from over here.
Well, yes, indeed. Good afternoon to you. Great to be speaking to you. I suppose one of the things about this is just how competitive the electric vehicle market is. What's your analysis of that?
It's a highly competitive market, all the more so when you come over to Beijing and see the plethora of new models that are being launched out here. The market already in China has actually just surpassed the 50% barrier for what they call new energy vehicles, which includes plug-in electric as well as pure electric. So it's the growth of the available supply of great choices of models that has actually stimulated demand, as well as the fact that the cost structure of the product over here that is particularly attractive, that's driving people into electric. And that's probably the biggest difference between the market over here and what you're seeing in the UK, where price differences are still very big. There's about a 35% gap between a petrol and electric equivalent in the UK market right now. That's holding back demand.
And why is that? What's that about? I mean, lots of the kind of conversation around this is about the technology, for example, that's required. So even in a small electric car, they will still be expensive given the kind of development of technology and, I suppose, the pace of that.
But I think the small electric cars are probably the biggest problem of all. It's in that category that there's very little supply. If you look at data that we can see on our own platform, there's literally a tenth of the available supply of more affordable under under £30,000 category of cars, of electric cars compared to their petrol equivalent. So there's very little choice. And it's in that smaller category of car that the weight of the battery, both in terms of its literal weight and its financial weight, is very hard to absorb and keep the price down. I think that's the kind of challenge that Carlos Tavares was rightly commenting on. I think the cost structures, though, of the Chinese brands that have done so well over here already and that are bringing their products into Europe is much lower. They've often got vertical integration in their supply chain. They've also got huge scale. The Chinese market is actually producing already 30 million cars. You know, in the UK, we're selling about 2. So they've got the economies of scale that are helping bring the price down and make those cars more affordable in their markets, and hopefully bringing some of that challenge and opportunity into the UK market as well. Yeah.
So at the Beijing Motor Show, when we consider the kind of state of the electric vehicle market, what is the most exciting thing there? Is there a new development? Are we still advancing the technology in a really exciting way?
The technology is amazing up here. There's a few things that stand out. Firstly, in terms of the range of vehicles, very few people seem to be overly concerned with that. You've often got 600-700 kilometers range as pretty much a matter of course in most vehicles. With good infrastructure, that's removing range or maybe charging anxiety is an issue, and people are almost moving on to a next level of interest in electric. The technology in the cars is hugely useful over here. A lot of amazing AI-based technology that's driving the development of the vehicles. The tech in the car, people are able to use a whole host of apps and so on. That's also driven by a lot of tech giants over here. You've got the likes of Baidu, which is the Google equivalent in China, but has got a very successful launch of a car called the Xiaoming, which is generating huge interest here. Their CEO is Elon Musk-like in terms of his following around the auto show. So the tech giants like Baidu and others like Huawei are getting behind automotive and helping drive interest in actually what the car can do for you in terms of your enjoyment of spending time in it, rather than just the driving experience per se. It's almost a next level of whole sort of automotive experience.
Ian, it's really interesting. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And enjoy the Beijing Motor Show. That's Ian Plummer, who's Commercial Director of Autotrader, joining us from Beijing.
Nice backdrop behind him. We
cool.
can see here lots of people milling around and lots of high-tech, very beautiful looking cars,
yeah, very
actually.
swish. I spotted a couple of nice ones in the background.
Probably afford them as well. They sound quite cheap in China.
Yeah, bring it on.
We won't have to remortgage our home to do it. You're listening to Times Radio Breakfast now. After the news, we're going to bring...